This program airs statewide on California Public Television and is a California's Gold classic. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. They come in all shapes and sizes, from canoes to steamboats, and they've been a part of the history and the color of Lake Tahoe for years. We're talking, of course, about boats. And when you talk about Lake Tahoe and boats, you gotta emphasize wooden boats, because this lake has been and continues to be the home of some of the most beautiful wooden boats ever made. Boats that are prime examples of California's gold. It's like stepping back in time, looking at all these classic wooden boats out on the clear waters of Lake Tahoe. And in fact, for a week every year, you can step back in time, as the Tahoe Yacht Club Foundation sponsors Tahoe Wooden Boat Week, which brings out some of the classiest, shiniest boats you'll ever see. Now, the highlight of Wooden Boat Week is the Concours d'Elegance, which takes place for 2 days at the Sierra Boat Company on Tahoe's North Shore. It's during this event that the classic boat owners have their boats on display and are eager to talk about them to anyone and everyone who's interested. Now, you told me that you've had this little boat here for a while. Tell me about it. What's the story?
Well, I got it as a 16th birthday present 40 years ago. And somehow it survived my youth. My sister and I water skied behind it endlessly as kids. And we just kept it at the house in the boathouse, and somehow it's survived it all. This beautiful engine is original. Nothing's been done other than changing the spark plugs in it. And it starts every year just like that.
Really?
Everything else is original. The seat upholstery has been redone on the seats. The back is original. It's a beautiful boat. It's one of a kind. I've never seen another Rockhold with this much mahogany on the decks.
So it's all mahogany?
It's all mahogany.
Is this a Tahoe boat?
It's an all Tahoe boat.
Now, what do you mean all Tahoe boat?
It's only ever been at Lake Tahoe.
Ah.
When it was new, it was purchased in Oakland at an outboard marine shop, and the decal is still on the dash where my dad got it. And brought it right to the lake and kept it here. If you notice, the name is Circe too. Circe being, Ulysses, the siren of the seas, to try to get the ships to crash on the rocks. This is the second boat. We destroyed the first boat when we were kids. At age 15, it finally sunk. And my folks got this boat to be a little safer with us. And this has got a fiberglass bottom on it, doesn't take on any water, and it has never sunk. Even though we tried frequently to see what we could do with it as kids,
There's always been a close relationship between the car and the boats. Many of the early boats used automobile steering gears to steer the boats. But this one here, the width or the beam of the boat was too wide, and so he actually had to take 2 back seats and put them together so that it would fit and fill up the entire space. These are the original automobile panels. The ashtray on the driver's side was converted to hold the gear and the throttle. The power windows all work. You have to put the convertible top down to get in and out of the boat. And it's the rarest of all the Filberts that were built.
So this is a real automobile?
This is the actual 1957 Chrysler Imperial top.
So you just put it inside the frame of a boat?
Exactly. The sculpting on this was very intense. This wood is actually shaped the same as on the 1957 Chrysler Imperial, so that the windshield and the trim panels and the boot all fit in here, and it's as if the inside of a car was taken and just slid right in, but it wasn't near that easy.
Now we're standing here by a magnificent boat that really stands out even in this grouping of boats. Could you give us the history behind this particular boat?
Huell, this particular boat was built in 1924 by Stevens Brothers at Stockton. and it was commissioned for one purpose only, and that was to follow the University of California crew team around when its coach Kai Ebright wanted just the right thing. It's 30 feet long, again built in 24. It has the distinction of having gone to 3 different Olympics, 1928, 1932, and 1948 with the Cal team, wherever the Olympics were at the time. And they brought back gold with it as well.
Now, how would this work? I'm not quite sure I understand when you say it was built to accompany the crew team. They would be out crewing, and this would be the motor launch that would go along beside the fellas.
The coach's launch, exactly. The compartment forward is big enough for the coach to have ample room. The shell itself would be forward of the boat, and he would have, as you can see here in the cockpit, the megaphone to hail everyone. And the boat has no wake whatsoever, so it's not going to kick up any water while the team is trying to do its thing.
Now here, this one is a very strange and wonderful looking boat, and I understand you are the owner.
Yes, I am.
Tell us about this thing.
Well, a gentleman went to the Besotis brothers years ago, the original owner, and he wanted this boat to look like a Chris Craft Cobra, but he wanted a Besotis hull. And so he gave them the specs and how he wanted it built, and so they built it for him.
So this is a one of a kind.
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, it certainly must catch people's eye when they walk by. How do you describe this in layman's terms back here?
You know, it's hard to explain. It's like people call it the bat boat. You know, we don't have a name on it, but we just call it a fun boat. It's a fun boat to go ride around in, and it's very functionable. The ski tow pops up here. We have.
You ski behind this
Yes, we
boat.
do.
Here on Lake Tahoe?
Yes, we do.
Wow. I bet I've heard of stopping traffic on the highway. I bet this stops traffic out in the lake, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And we use this boat. We're from down in the valley, down in Stockton, and we use this boat in the Delta. And people will be driving down the channel, and people will pull us alongside of us and say, "Hey, that boat is beautiful," you know, and they'll want to ask questions about it, and it almost becomes a nuisance.
Yeah. Well, I think you can handle that all right.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
You know what you're going to get when you go out in a boat like this.
Yes, I understand.
Comes with the territory.
Sure.
The bat boat.
Yes, that's it.
Built in
Stockton in 61.
1961. They knew what they were doing back in the 20s when they made boats, didn't
Well, they did, but you know, that's not... There are carpenters around today still who build these boats, beautiful new boats, just as fine as the carpenters did back then.
they? Really?
Absolutely. It's not a secret. What it is, it's a matter of economics. You find the person who wants to pay the carpenter to build the boat, you could have the most beautiful wooden boat built for you.
Yeah.
It's not a lost art. These boats are particularly a little bit interesting as compared to all the other boats in this harbor today. These are all made out of teak.
How much life does a boat like this, what's the lifespan of a boat like this?
Well, if they're not repaired, of course, the lifespan would be very short. It's proportionate to how much money is thrown at them over the years to keep them on top of the water. That's the whole trick. Keep the water coming out of the boat faster than it's coming in. And once you've accomplished that, then the lifespan, they go on and on. That's right. You just keep putting more varnish on them, and there they are.
The name, Can I Go?
Can I Go? The boat has a very interesting name, and it's a name that's original to the boat, 1926. The gentleman who commissioned the boat to be built in Stockton knew he was going to name this Can I Go from years of activity at the lake, children running down his pier wanting to take a ride in his boats, and they would say, "Can I go? Can I go? Can I go in the boat?" and, and so he named it. He said, "Oh, that's my next boat, is Can I Go?" And so it stayed on there. And the boat really, all these boats are well known around here, but I'll have to say, since it's my boat, I think Can I Go is the cutest name.
Now let me ask you, are you going to take this boat out this afternoon?
Yes, we're going to motor out at 1 o'clock.
In the parade?
In the parade with the 3 others.
So I guess the question I need to ask is, can I go?
Certainly you may go.
Now you have a whole pictorial history of this boat.
Somebody took this when the boat was purchased, taken out to the ranch at Lodi where Mr. Moore's grandfather lived. And then this was a picture of grandmother. That's Florence, who the boat was named after.
And look at it being towed with that old car.
With that old 1916 Rio. We still have the car too, incidentally.
And then down here it's being loaded into...
No, it's down at the south end of the lake. They didn't have any ramps in those days. So you took it someplace where it was fairly level and fairly shallow, and you pushed the boat into the lake. That was the only way you did it.
And then there it is in the water.
They got it in the water, and then it was brought up to Homewood, where it lived for many years.
That's amazing that there really is like a family history to these
People
boats.
are always amazed that this boat is still in the same family for over 75 years. So.
The Florence M. And there it is in the picture. And sitting here in the waters of Lake Tahoe all these years later. Now we're visiting with Tony Brown over here. The buffed out, shiny boats are over here. We've come over to take a look with you at the way many boats come to you. You are the premier restorer of these old boats. Where do they come from, and how many of them come to you looking like this?
This is a quite a bad one. This is a Guts and Feathers model. This is a pieces boats.
What do you mean a Guts and Feathers?
There is not much left of this boat, so pretty near everything on this boat will be replaced. This is a pattern boat is what it's referred to in our industry. Whereas all these sticks, all these planks will be taken off, duplicated, repaired behind the planks as need be, and then put back on with new lumber. That is assuming, of course, you can find some sort of a rich patron that can afford this incredibly labor-intensive work. This is work that is not done with a, overnight. This is a several-year project to try to get it done.
Where do these old boats come from? Because some stay in the family for generations, others seem to get lost in the cracks over the years.
They come out of everywhere. My speedboat, I've got a big racing runabout and several others. That came out of a cornfield in Minnesota, and the farmer had used it to pile hay up on top of it, and it was just off in his field, and that's all there was to it. I saw the back end sticking out, knew what it was, bought it, towed it from Minnesota out to here, and have rebuilt it and used it and just enjoy it completely.
So they come from cornfields, from barns,
back of people's homes, in marinas where the storage bill hasn't been paid. They come from all over. This monstrosity, I don't know.
Call it a monstrosity.
This girl, I don't know where this one came from, actually. It's certainly worth restoring because it is so rare, and the lines on it are wonderful. And what you have to do is you have to be able to see through it and see what you have when you're finished, and find someone else with deep pockets that can take care of that too.
So some of the boats that we've seen this morning could have looked like this.
Oh, several. There are a lot of boats there at the boat show that come in at least this bad, but if you have something that you can visualize as a long-range plan, and you have something when you get done, go ahead and do it.
Now, are you all owners? Are you potential owners? Are you...
We're admirers.
Lookers,
dreamers. Absolutely.
So for a boat person, there is a lot of dream in here, isn't there?
There sure is. We are boat people, but...
We usually go by sail. And to see boats like this with engines, we could become motorheads if we...
That's what they call them, motorheads?
In the sailboat world.
Oh, okay. Now, what about these things? Is it the history that draws you to them? Is it just the lines on the boat?
It's the history and the glamour.
The craftsmanship.
These things are just fabulous works of art.
Yeah.
They really are.
They really are. You can see the workmanship in every single piece of the boat that's been put together. All over the wood, the upholstery. We're fascinated by the steering wheels and the great big foot pedals. It's gorgeous.
So you really do think of them as works of art?
Oh, yeah, we sure do. And that somebody has kept up or restored completely.
Yeah.
Works of art and labors of love.
Okay, to get a feel of what it's like to be in one of these classic old wooden boats, Marty, tell us just a little bit about this boat. I know the name of it is Lipstick. I've seen the pictures. You literally started this boat, stripped it down, and almost started over again, didn't you?
It is, there, except for the frames on this boat, it's all new. There was very little when I started, and over a period of time we went through from the keel up to what you see today, and I've had the boat for about 2 years, and we enjoy it.
Now, is this what you would call a classic wooden boat?
This boat is a little different. Obviously it's painted, and it's painted because right after World War II, mahogany was in short supply. When a race boat was made, and this was a stock race boat that Chris Craft produced, they saved their high quality mahogany for some of the more expensive runabouts and pleasure boats, and a race boat like this was not expected to last very long. So they went ahead and put cedar on the sides, plywood on the top, and cedar on the bottom. And since cedar doesn't look very good if it's stained, they decided to paint the boats. And they've kind of developed an aura of their own. As they're called red and whites, and they're a popular, fun boat.
All right, let's have some fun. Let's crank this thing up. We're going to take off in this thing and see how fast it'll go. Let's just go around in a circle here and see what happens. Whoa! I guess this is truly a classic wooden boat here on Lake Tahoe, isn't it?
Yes, this is a 1951 Chris Craft Holiday. It's 23 feet 8 inches long, and as you can see, it's got a lot of room. This was Chris Craft's post-war entry into a more sleek design in the open, what they call the utility type boat.
Now, when you're out on Lake Tahoe in a boat like this, oh, look at this one. What's this one over here?
That one looks to me like it's a Century Coronado.
Now, is that a classic boat as well?
Yes, I would say so.
So there are a good number of classic boats out here on any given day.
Yes, there are. This is a haven for wooden boats. For one thing, Tahoe has always been a haven for boating, and in fact, about 20 years ago, people began to realize that the wooden boats were something worth preserving and collecting, and it's been growing ever since.
So this is the place to come if you want to show off your boat.
It certainly is. As you know, we had the big Concours Elegance that took up this last weekend, and in fact, the events continue for the entire week.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just on any given weekend, just to come up here and hang out and show off your boat.
Oh yes, we really enjoy that. We use this boat as a family boat. We take the kids and the grandparents, and everybody comes along, and we go for a picnic down to Emerald Bay quite often, and we'll usually find quite a few wooden boats down there on any given weekend.
And when you're doing that, you really do, in a way, get a sense of what it must have been like out here 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago.
Well, I certainly do. It feels like this is the way we ought to do it. You know, boating on Tahoe feels right in a wooden boat. Now, you know, we really don't go as fast as the new modern boats and everything, but we still feel like we're doing it the right way because we're out here with a wooden boat.
Here we are.
And what's the game plan here, Florene?
We're going to try to get out of this rain.
So we're heading out into the lake, which is glassy and nice and smooth early in the morning, isn't it?
It's lovely. This is a great morning. What we're doing is we're going very slowly here because the rules are that you keep to 5 miles an hour inside the buoy line, and we're approaching the buoy line. Ours is quite far out because we're in a shallow, kind of a shelf area here.
Now, you're not going to do some sudden surge of power here,
Normally
are you?
I would, but I'll be careful because of Louie. I mean, my foot gets heavy.
Well, now, you told me this is a good boat for your foot to get heavy in.
Yes, it is.
So we haven't really talked about what makes your boat special.
Well, what makes my boat special is the fact that it doesn't look as rakish as all those other ones. They're low freeboard and sleek and long. Mine's sneaky. It's the original classic Vasotis with high freeboard that served as a playpen for my son when he was growing up. He used to sit here in a little seat, and he'd be half asleep before we got to Sugar Pine Point when I used to live down by Fleur de Lac. And then he proposed to his girlfriend in it, and they're married now, and I have a little granddaughter, 3 years old, and I hope one of these days I'll be able to teach her to drive the boat as I do.
So this has been a family boat.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How many of the boats on Lake Tahoe are true family boats? I get the idea.
The Vasotises?
Well, just boats in general. I have a feeling there's a pretty good number of them.
There are some, like the old estates with like the dollars and the shillings, and a lot of people down the Gold Coast, they've had these wonderful old Garwoods and Stevens and Hackercraft, and they have boats which are all in the show that date way back, and they're passed down from family to family.
Yeah.
Well, we can kind of move it up now if you want.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Hold on, Louie.
I'll be very gentle with you, Louie. Shall we? How fast would you like to go? Would you like to just cruise for a while, or would you like to stab it a little bit?
Boy, I have a feeling we've bitten off more than we can chew here this morning with you. You like to go fast.
Well, it's kind of nice water. This is a real nice cruising speed. We're going 25 miles an hour, and this is a good ratio, 2,300 RPM. And this is a good water skiing speed. I taught all my son's friends to water ski in this boat, and people used to ask me, Florene, what do you do in the summer? I drive boat. Anyhow, and then there's 28 miles an hour, and I was curious about my RPMs. It always changes. That's not bad. Not quite 2,500 RPM. And then we get it up to 30, which is nice when you want to go across the lake. It's not hurting the engine. You can cruise all day at 30 miles an hour.
Really?
It never hurt this engine. Yeah. But then if you want to kind of get it up a little bit. Let's go!
What's the appeal of these big old wooden boats that have been restored like this?
They've been referred to as mahogany pianos with a little more twang, but the person that's interested in this hobby or sport or has this love probably also is equally enthusiastic for the antique automobile, the antique airplane. Here at Tahoe 50, 60, 70 years ago, you wanted, if you had a lakefront, you had to have, or did have at the time, a boat, and the boats were made of wood. In many cases, the families that had those homes 50, 60, 70 years ago, the next and the following generations are still here. And they respect the boat, they respect the property, they've maintained the boats, they've held the family possessions in trust, if you will. So the signature pieces are still here. And the uniqueness of Tahoe as well, what with the dry climate that we have, the comparatively clean water that we have, the comparatively short boating season that we have, those are all the right elements, plus the continuing attraction of Tahoe for those well enough to come here. You don't have to be rich, and enjoy, you enjoy it as well in a wooden boat.
Boy, did we have a good time racing across Lake Tahoe in those beautiful wooden boats. And of course, the neatest thing about it was that not only did we see some spectacular boats, but we got a history lesson as well. A history lesson about boats that were and are very much a part of California's gold. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Howser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727 and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.